So, good evening, everyone. Today, my name is Corey Vernon, and Miss Pam and Mr. Chuck Coleman are going to be joining us this evening to discuss the really hot topic of inspiring and nurturing the entrepreneurial spirit within the Black community. And we can't wait to have them. So, without further ado, everybody just go ahead and drop where you all are coming from, how you're doing this evening. We have Miss Pam. Queens, okay. All right. Where else is everybody else coming from? I know we have Atlanta in here. Good evening. Good evening.
Good evening. How are
Good
you?
evening. How are you, my friend?
I'm fine, and you all?
You're doing
Great.
fantastically well.
That's great. So, for anyone just joining us right now, we have Miss Pam Coleman and Mr. Chuck Coleman joining us this evening just to discuss the inspiring and nurturing the entrepreneurial spirit within the Black community, as well as their successes in real estate and entrepreneurship and everything that has contributed to their parenting success and their three children, all of their three children growing up to own their own businesses. So, I just want to thank you for joining us this evening, Mr. Chuck Coleman and Miss Pam Coleman. And without further ado, do you mind just telling us a little bit about yourselves?
Yes, again, my name is Chuck Coleman, and thank you very much for allowing my wife and I to join you and the rest of those folks on the Instagram page right now for just allowing us to share some information with you. Uh, I, like many people, went to college, got a bachelor's degree, master's degree, worked extremely hard, but I realized that I had the spirit of entrepreneurship, and one thing turned it around for me. I read a book called Rich Dad Poor Dad, and it
Mm-hmm.
literally revolutionized my way of thinking. I started thinking more like an entrepreneur than an employee. Started in real estate, started other businesses, and I knew that no one could pay me what I was truly worth, and that I had the ability to go out and earn as much income as I wanted. It was all based upon my effort and my willingness to go out and work hard. And that's what we've done. And those are the kinds of values that we have built in our children.
And thanks again for inviting us through. And I'm Pam. I come from an entrepreneurial background. Both of my parents started a school years ago, and that school grew to one of the largest independent African American schools in the country. So I saw my parents build something from the ground up. It's no longer around. It was around for 43 years, but that was like the foundation for me wanting to be an entrepreneur. When my husband and I met, he had already bought his first house. I had bought a house. And we decided very early on, as we were, thinking about how we wanted to raise our children, we wanted to raise independent thinkers. And so there were certain things that we did even when they were young to help them to just begin to think about entrepreneurship and think about doing things for themselves, not just living in a box, but actually thinking outside the box.
Wow. And can you just tell me a little bit, you've already told me a little bit about your field of work, but can you also go into legacy makers as well?
Yes, as a result of being an entrepreneur for over 30 years, we realized that it was necessary for us to lay a foundation to leave a legacy, that we could create certain things to be able to pass on to our children's children. We've
Mm,
always been forward thinkers, generational thinkers, and we're not only interested in living. Everything that we do right now helps us to build a legacy. For example, we have our first grandchild, and I can tell already she's only 7 months old, and she already has that spirit, that feisty spirit already. We can see it in her right now. And so everything that we're doing today is helping her to experience a better life tomorrow. And that's what
mm,
legacy is all about. And not only doing it for our family, but being able to pass that same kind of knowledge on to other people so that they will realize how important it is to leave a legacy for their children's children.
Many of us are looking back at what happened with, Black Wall Street in Tulsa. And I mean, we as a people, even when you look at, the different countries we come from in Africa, we've always been self-sufficient.
mm,
And somehow, many people have lost that where they feel like I have to work a job, I have to subject myself to whatever it is that my boss is telling me to do. Leaving a legacy means that you're going to build a foundation for yourself first. So whether you're 20 years old, you're 40 years old, um, you want to take a serious look at your finances, looking at how to get yourself out of debt, looking at how to bring in passive residual income. Because whatever you do when you're 20 or 30 or 50, when you have people coming behind you, they're going to build on that. Even things like being able to have a will and a trust and a power of
mm,
attorney so that you're not leaving debt behind. You're not leaving your loved ones scrambling to figure out, what you left for them. So these are all things that we need to do and take a serious look at, not when someone gets sick or not when you're on your deathbed, but start planning when you're a teenager, when you're 20, when
mm.
you're 30, because even if you don't have children, there's someone that you love that you want to leave a legacy for.
Mhm.
So that's what it's about.
And let me just add this other point too. And legacy is a mindset. Legacy is something that you have to process in your mind and realize that you are making a difference now as well as for the future. So legacy is a mindset. You have
Mm.
to, like my wife said, you have to plan your legacy, but it starts with thinking a certain way. Because if you don't think that way, then you won't make the necessary plans to leave that legacy for the next generation.
Mm. Well, let's talk about making that legacy. So, you mentioned real estate, and entrepreneurship. How do you, to people who want to get involved in real estate and people who want to get involved in entrepreneurship, what do you suggest as the first steps?
One of the things that's important to realize is that right now is the greatest time to be able to purchase something because the interest rates are so low.
Mm,
Sometimes people are afraid to take that step. Say if you rented all your life, or maybe you've made some mistakes and you've been in debt and so forth. The biggest thing you can do is begin to start working on your credit so that you can qualify for a loan. The other thing that I would suggest, instead of going out and buying a car, or even instead of going out and buying, a single family home, we suggest that people, especially if it's your first home, purchase a duplex. That way, the person living in that other portion of duplex can help to pay the mortgage, and you can build up equity. And once you build up equity, you can then take some of that equity out and parlay it into purchasing something else. So we
mm,
love to be able to purchase um, properties, whether it's duplexes, triplexes, or single family homes, where people are paying the mortgage and we're building up equity. And it just helps us to, um, it's actually like printing free money, because when
mm,
you're building equity, say if your duplex is worth 200,000 and you might have about $50,000 worth of equity, well, pull 30,000 of that out. $30,000 can then be used as a down payment for something else. So
Mm,
that's just one of the strategies. And it's important to start someplace. Don't count yourself out. Don't say, I've never owned, or I messed up, I owned before and I might have had a foreclosure or whatever. Start someplace. And now is the best time to start because of the interest rates.
mm,
I mean, I think that you have to decide that you want to become an entrepreneur. That's the
mm-hmm,
first thing. You have to make a decision, a definitive decision that, hey, I think I'm carved out to be an entrepreneur. So that's the first thing. You got to make a decision. The second thing is you have to expose yourself to people who are doing the kinds of things that you have an interest in doing. Going to seminars, going to
mm-hmm,
workshops, and going on webinars, and finding successful people and literally sitting down with him or her and asking them specific kinds of questions. How did you get started? What inspired you to become an entrepreneur? What were some of your failures, and how did you overcome those failures? And how did you organize your successes and things of that nature? Just be able to glean from others, learn from others,
mm,
apply those principles, apply those values into your own life and into the things that you're attempting to do. And that's what help to propel you forward. Just learning from other people, humbling yourself, realize that you don't know it all, but that you can really learn from other people who are like light years ahead of you, and just pick their brain. And that's what we've done. We've paid, and don't be afraid to invest in yourself.
mm.
We've paid thousands upon thousands of dollars to go to various places to be trained by very successful people. And we brought that knowledge back and we began to implement it. And now we've been able to create some of the kind of things that we have in place for ourselves and our family.
Right. So, I mean, my next question was going to be research, but you already spoke on that. Just listening to what you said earlier, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and going to seminars as well. Um, do you have like any other things that you could have someone like me, somebody who's 19 years old and interested in getting started in real estate? What would you recommend that I do?
Okay. One of the first things I strongly recommend is find a mentor. Find someone who you can establish a meaningful relationship with, someone who can speak into your life. That's number one. And just today, I had one of my former students, because I have a background also as an educator. One of my former students just text me today inquiring about a mentoring program that we provide. And
Mm,
so there's a mentor, getting involved in a mentoring program, going out. I know now we can't do it because of the state of the economy and the pandemic and everything, but finding real estate groups to become a
mm,
part of. There are many groups out there around the country. They do webinars every single week. I'm a part of a group, and we do a number of webinars throughout the week on different real estate topics. So become a part of a real estate group, those kinds of things that will help you. Of course, there are many books out there that a person could read. I know Robert Kiyosaki is one of my favorite authors, but there are many, many resources out there. I think the most important thing is you have to find the right relationships, because really you're just one relationship away from having doors of opportunity open up
agree.
to you.
Mm.
Just one relationship away. So find that person who you can really, really connect with, and allow that person to just help you, move along that path of accomplishing, the goals and dreams that you have.
Well, thank you. So just moving into to look at the success of your children as well, because having one of your children to go out and start their own business is one thing, but to have all three is an entirely different story within itself. So, what did you put into place in order to inspire them, in order to help them learn, and to encourage them throughout this process?
One of the things Our kids now are, our oldest is 31, our middle son just turned 29 a few days ago, and our youngest is 26, a daughter. And so one of the things that my husband started doing as they started getting older, at Christmas time, instead of giving toys and games, I mean, they still got some of that, but every single Christmas, my husband in particular would select a book that all of them would read. He would put a check inside the book, and that became their primary gift. And so it began to shape and mold how they thought. So, like The Greatest Salesman in the World, Rich Dad Poor Dad, of course, How to Win Friends and Influence People. So, as they were growing, their mindset began to shift. So they found that some of their peers, although their peers would laugh at them and so forth, some of their peers didn't understand, but it allowed them to think in a certain way. One of our sons, Chris, when he was like 15, he would be in his room and it would be like 1 or 2 in the morning, light was still on, and we're like, what are you doing? He was communicating with people around the world. And when he was a little bit older, he actually had someone from a different country to invest in his business. So with him, he actually does a lot of branding for, he's done some for like Shaka Khan, for NBA. He used to work at BuzzFeed. Our oldest son has a company that he's just beginning to form where he does drop shipments, and he also helps to manage property. And then our daughter and her fiance, they do blogging, and they also have a company. It's like a Uber company for cleaning where people can just log on or go on their phone and they can request cleaners, and they do like all eco-friendly cleaning. So again, all of them have found their niche, and also our daughter models as well, but all of them have found their niche. And that's something important for all of you to recognize, whoever's on this, on this live. Think about what you're passionate about. Think about what you're good at and make that a business. There's something that you're good at where someone else has a need. People don't like to clean. People don't like to sometimes cook. So, my daughter's fiance is a chef, so he provides food. So it could be something very, very tangible, or it could be esoteric. It could be ideas. But whatever it is you're passionate about, you are going to meet someone else's need. Find out what that need is, and then make your service so unique that people want to come to you.
Wow. Yeah, and just let me just add to this. Some of the other books that we had our children to read were books like Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, and Success of a Millionaire Mind was another great book. Developing the Leader Within You by John Maxwell. Outstanding book. This was a book that I read many, many years ago. It was one of the first positive mental attitude books that I read, entitled The Magic of Thinking Big. A great book by David Schwartz.
Can you say that last one more time?
It's The Magic of Thinking Big by David Schwartz. A great book that I highly recommend that people read. And I'm sure many people are familiar with Grant Cardone. He wrote a book called The 10X Factor, or The 10X Rule, another great book. And Acres of Diamond, that's another book that I would strongly recommend that people read. Acres of Diamond by Russell Conwell. So exposure, I mean, I remember taking our children on to different seminars, and we as a family had a chance to experience that. I mean, it was a life-changing experience for all of us. We went to something called The Secrets of the Millionaire Mind. It was a workshop that they did, and so it was a lot of interpersonal contact with each other. We had to do different exercises together, and when you do that as a family, it really brings out the best in everybody involved. An awesome experience.
Well, I want to thank you for joining us this evening, and just want to ask for any last parting words, as well as any questions from the audience that you would like to ask Colemans. So without further ado, take it away.
I don't know if anyone has any questions. I want to say I admire you. You are so, mature, just handling this interview. I'm talking to you, 19 years old, and doing a great job. And I also want to give a shout out to the founder of Black Parent Magazine. I love this space because it's a safe space for Black parents and Black people in general to find out about what is happening in our community, positive as well as some things we need to be aware of in terms of all these deaths that are taking place. So thank you for providing this, Kathy. And I know, okay, I have a question. I have so many ideas that I would love to pursue. How can I narrow them down? That's a good question.
Like my wife said earlier, you have to identify what are you most passionate about, because that's where your prosperity will come from, the things that you're most passionate about. What gifts and talents and abilities do you possess? Now, people have many gifts, many abilities, but you have to find just that one. Start with just that one passionate gift that you have and begin organizing around it, begin pursuing that, and then that will open up other opportunities for the other passions that you have. But you got to find just that one thing initially to get you moving in the right direction. And when you do that, like I said, other doors will begin to open up for you to pursue other things that you have an interest in.
Someone asked about repeating the books, but what we can do.
I actually have a lot of them. So
Okay.
I can put that after the video ends. I'll put it in the what is it called? The comment section.
Okay, perfect. Any other questions?
Someone asked how they can get in contact with us. Why don't you give them that information?
Okay, well, for my husband, you can go to about.me/Chuck Coleman. And for me, you can go to about.me/Legacy Makers. And we're also right on Instagram, Pam.Coleman or Chuck.H.Coleman. We'd love to keep in touch with you. We find ourselves really talking to a lot of millennials. I don't know, millennials just seem to be attracted to us. And we're both educators, so many of the people that we at one time taught, or my husband was a vice principal, they're now millennials, or some of them are in their 40s. And I know you're in Gen Z, so you're even younger than the millennials. But we love working with young people. We love helping people to succeed. We really do.
Well, I want to thank you also for being educators, because educators are incredibly and extremely important. So I just want to thank you for everything, for joining us this evening and taking the time out of your day to just speak with us and impart some knowledge on us. Any last questions from anybody before we bring this to an end? Remember, you can follow Mr. Coleman at Chuck, I believe it's Chuck Coleman on Instagram. Chuck.H.Coleman. And Miss Pam Coleman is one more time?
Miss Pam.Coleman. Yes. You.
No problem. And then Miss Pam.Coleman.
Yeah, just Pam.Coleman, yes.
All right. So those are the Instagrams. I'm going to go ahead and stick that in the description as soon as we finish this video. But thank you for joining us this evening and have a blessed one. Remember, tomorrow is July 7th, so buy black. And, just support everyone, support your people, and stay safe with everything that's going on.
Fantastic. And much continued success to you as well, young man. All right?
Thank you so much. Have a good one.
Bye-bye.
Bye.